And we're live.
All right.
So welcome everybody. We are here with B+S Gaming episode 4, I think we're at now.
Yeah, we're at episode 4.
Episode 4. Again, sorry that we're all weird with the time. We're still trying to get a time that's good for both of us to be in and ready to record at the same time. That's what real life does to you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really thinking we should maybe try for Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I think those are probably, for both of us, the nights that will be easier.
All right, let's target for that.
Yeah. So, only a couple topics today, as you can see by the title, the loot box episode. But before we get into the loot boxing, Destiny 2. You heard about their little kerfuffle that they're going on with right now?
It's like a double kerfuffle.
Yeah.
Because so let me see. Yes, I did. I remember hearing the first part where the XP wasn't scaling the way Bungie says that they preferred it, but Bungie wasn't saying anything until some gamer did the math on it. And
right.
The amount of diminishing returns was significant to the point where it became a reasonable argument that you eventually couldn't. So I'll say what I know of it, and then you can expound on it. So basically what it is once you get to the end game, which basically Destiny is of course an end game. Basically the story mode is just getting you up to your 20th level. And so then once you get to that point, now they did away with light levels. Now I think it's called your power level. And every time you fill up your power level, you like technically level up because there's no more leveling. You just it's basically you just have to do all your guns. Everybody knows how Destiny works.
Right.
So you would get a what is it, a silver or a clear, whatever the hell they called it,
engram or something. Yeah, something like that.
It's one of the white engrams, and so you would get a white engram every time you got a new power level, which isn't a level technically because there's no numerical assignment to it. And basically, as you would do like public events and things like that, you got a significantly diminished amount of XP, and then things like raids and the strikes, you get a little bit more, but if you kept playing them consecutively, it would go less and less and less. Thus, you wouldn't level up the way you would think you would be, and presumably, and I wonder, I'm so cynical now with all this crap. It makes somebody wonder if perhaps they weren't slowing the rate of progression so that people would just buy those white engrams.
Right, and that's the thing. It got to the point where.
And that's the first half.
Yeah, somebody said that it actually scaled down so that you lost 96% of your XP if you were doing like the public events over and over again and just running around killing mobs. And then the strikes, or maybe not the strikes themselves, but the raid definitely was supposed to be like a plus 50% increase. And so then Bungie said, "Okay, look, we're going to kill that scaling thing. We're going to work on it. It wasn't working as intended or as we intended it. It's more like you got caught, and that's what wasn't intended." And then the second part happened, where now people are discovering that they've either. Oh, and in the first part is that the UI was still showing you what XP it said you were getting. So it's not like you were like getting like 4 XP per 100 and you knew that. It was the XP would be saying you got 1,000, but you were really only getting 40.
Right. So then they turned off the whole thing.
Yep.
And then something else happened, and I'm not clear on. I forgot.
Basically, they've either secretly doubled the amount of XP it needs to gain one of those engrams,
That's right.
or scaled everybody back to just minus 50% without the UI going on. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't played Destiny 2.
I remember hearing that they actually increased the amount of XP required, like double, to get that next engram, which is crappy.
Mm-hmm.
But my first thought hearing about this was like, healthy.
Yes.
Those engrams suck anyway. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing even in them that's useful. Listen, I enjoy Destiny. I think in terms of just sitting down and shooting aliens in the face, it's a fun game. The environments are beautiful, and The worlds are interesting to explore, but like many people, I played a lot when the game came out, and although I don't, there's still a couple pieces of armor I'd like to get. For the most part, I've played the strikes numerous times. I never did the raid because I'm never in a team that's good enough for the raid. They don't really. They have like that. You can either like mentor. I forget what they call it. You can like join. You can do a pickup game for a raid.
Right.
But the raids require a lot of coordination, and it just never works. I did that for the elite strikes and or the nightmare. I can't remember what they call. I get a lot of terminologies mixed up with Warframe. Right. So I and I was never good with terminologies anyway, like characters' names and all this crap. It's not a thing that lingers in my consciousness. Whatever it was, you could do, you could either like do a pickup game, or you could like mentor, or I forget what the term they call it, where you could like bring a solo guy with you. But there's like the content in this game is so light. It's fun to play, and I'm not going to diss on it because I enjoy it. Even Crucible, I kind of have fun with Crucible, but it's so anemic with actual stuff. I can't believe that they didn't even just look. They didn't change anything with the character creation. Doesn't it? It's really Destiny 1.5. I've heard that said before, and I agree with it. There was no radical shift. Okay, they added an interesting story, but there's no reason to play. I've done the strike so many times, and of course it's always awesome when PlayStation gets at least one additional PvP map and an extra strike map. Like, oh good, there's extra content they have, but because I'm not going to buy a PlayStation just for one or two extra maps.
Yeah, that's an entirely different bag of worms.
It is
there too, and
but my point
is, something that I agree with either, whether it would be on the Xbox, the PC, or the PlayStation. I just don't agree that only
I'm just so
one
over
of
that
them
shit.
should get that.
Yeah, it's bullshit. So anyway, Destiny's a fun game, but I played as much of Destiny as I can, but now my zebra stripe gum has run out of flavor rather quickly, as usual. So until they start, and I bought a pass because just like last time, although, and I would lay this squarely at the feet of Activision, not Bungie. Although this isn't the Bungie of the Halo days, I've said this so many times. That's not the same Bungie. Half that team is over at 343 now anyway. But the point is, they made a deal with the devil in the form of Activision, and now they're going to have all kinds of money-grubbing little things in there to, I think, water down the experience of the game. And that's what's happening. It happened in Destiny 1 when I went, and I think I said this before, that when I went back to Destiny 1 after a long time, because the season pass stuff ran out, and then they had like new stuff, maybe Taken King. You had to like buy, the big new pack that didn't come with the season pass, which again is another shitty thing. Well, I couldn't just buy just the part that I didn't have.
Right.
I had to rebuy the whole game, which was total garbage. So that was crap. But I did finally relent, and what I did was I bought a double pack of it was like $60 for Call of Duty Advanced Infinity Super Space Buttholes, whatever it was.
That was a good one. I enjoyed that one, especially the space buttholes.
Yeah,
those were fun.
So whatever it was, like basically Call of Duty Titanfall, whatever that one was, that was kind of fun. I played halfway through the campaign. I have no intention of playing the multiplayer. That also came bundled with all the Destiny like deluxe edition.
Right.
So I finally got to play all the content, and it was awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just unfortunate that it took them until the tail end of that game's lifespan to actually make the game beefy and fun, and
right.
It actually had no interest in buying Destiny 2 until I played all of the content. And I suspect that Destiny 2 is going to be the same way, where once you get like 2 years out, then they're going to have this fully fleshed out game. They're going to figure out whatever. Anyway, it's just unfortunate that this is the state of affairs in gaming, where publishers don't give a shit about the quality of life of a game. The developers are hamstrung because they want the money to pay for the developers to make the game.
Right.
And it's just loot boxes or shitty pay to win schemes, whatever. Like all these different things, or you get stuff content locked away. Anyway, yeah, I think we spent way too much time on Destiny. I did hear about the controversy, and it's unfortunate. I was never really a big fan of Luke Smith anyway, even back before he joined Bungie, when he was one of the co-hosts of One Up Yours. I thought he was douchebag then. He sounded like a douchebag. He came off as very much like a Cliffy B-esque, like somebody who's just so full of themselves that it's repugnant to listen to what they have to say. Now he's responsible for helping shape this game, which, for all of the negative stuff aside, is still a fun game to play. So,
yeah, and so let us close the book on the Destiny kerfuffle, because well, the only other thing is they apparently did like an AMA on Reddit, and whenever people were asking anything about XP, they just completely didn't answer those questions. They did say apparently they're bringing back some weapons that'll have like the random properties again and stuff, stuff like that. And they gave dates for when they're introducing stuff, which I guess is kind of cool. But they're not talking about what's going on with the XP publicly. And that's what I think more people are much more concerned about.
Probably because they don't know what the fuck they're going to do now.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in, so I'm going to go back to, and I hope I'm not repeating myself, because I talk so much about video games, I can't tell if it's stuff I've talked about here on the show or if I've just talked with you or someone else. But back to the Destiny 1.5 thing. Sorry, I'm reopening the book because I want to air this little grievance. When you play the game, the first thing you notice is now when you have weapons, all of their the skill trees on each gun that you used to have to unlock in Destiny 1 is now fully unlocked. You really get the impression, it really, really feels like, instead of just creating a whole new weapon system, they just took the old one and said, shit, and just said, you know what, just set everything to unlocked. And just,
right.
You know what I mean? It really feels like there was something, well, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel like something else was supposed to be there. It just feels like they took the old system and they were just like, it's not even a Band-Aid. It's just like, whatever. We can't think of anything better, so just turn everything on and fucking go with it. Well, that's lame. Yeah. You just feel like there's so many different ideas. It's not a proper sequel. I mean, I don't know if it was rushed, because I said it's light on content, it's light on features. It has, you play the handful of strikes it has, it's friggin' boring after a while. Even though there's some challenge there, but I don't know what's going on. It just seems so weird. They streamlined some stuff, but really it just seems like it's maybe some optimizations. But instead of building a new game with systems that make sense, they just took old stuff and tweaked it and removed a lot of stuff. They removed all the economies, and I don't know. Instead of adding and evolving the game, they just stripped out a lot of the superfluous nonsense from the first one. It's a shame.
Yeah, it is. So, moving over to EA, hold my beer. Man, they're in a... This whole loot box thing has become a world of hurt for them. Their stock valuation over the past couple days dropped by $3.1 billion. So for those who don't understand what that means, is their stock dropped in value majorly, and as a result, the net worth of the company on the stock market is now $3.1 billion lower than it was just a few days ago. And that's not a good thing for a big company. That's a lot of money.
No, they're shitting themselves. I wouldn't be surprised if some people lost their jobs.
Yeah. Well, speaking of somebody, so the CEO of not Activision, of EA right now, his name is something Wilson. I can't remember his first name.
Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Wilson. But apparently Wilson. No. But apparently he is one of the people that really got the loot boxes going. And this happened, there's a guy named Skill Up on YouTube who did this video that was really informative. They're back in a couple years ago, FIFA was not the only soccer game that EA was doing. They also had the UEFA license, EUFA, which I'm assuming stands for European Union Football Association.
UEFA.
Yeah. And that had cards for like their one multiplayer mode, and you would buy them with just in-game credits, and there were like 3 tiers of card packs, your bronze, silver, gold. And when EA decided not to do the UEFA license again, they decided not to renew it. Wilson was either an executive producer or a producer on FIFA, or maybe even on both of them. I'd have to relook. And he said, "Hey, let's bring the cards over, but let's see if we can charge people actual money for them." And that's how the FIFA Ultimate Team came about, which you can buy for real money. And those, FIFA Ultimate Team's been in there for a couple years now, right? I mean, I think since like 2014 or so.
I don't know shit about FIFA.
Yeah, me neither. But basically what ended up happening is FIFA is EA's bread and butter, okay? As much as we like to joke about Madden being being EA's bread and butter, it's really FIFA, because FIFA is worldwide and Madden is just the US. So suddenly they started making money hand over fist on these microtransactions for these cards.
Right.
And these card packs are essentially loot boxes. They just look like cards instead. And I have a feeling that this is actually how he got his job as CEO. They started seeing how much money FIFA was making, and they said, "Hey, this guy brought this in. He's made us a lot of money. He's probably got some good ideas for how we can make some money on all of our other games." And now that it's, all of their games are becoming loot box central. We were talking right before the show. Apparently UFC 3 has loot boxes that are completely tied to progression. At least in the beta, that like if you don't open loot boxes, your fighter or your teams or whatever it is become absolute dog shit in no time at all. To the point where like they barely do any damage when they strike people. One guy was saying in an article I read that he was, doing the ground pound on somebody, and the guy took like 30 hits, and then he got up and he had to do it 3 more times at like 20 to 30 hits each before the other person was knocked out. And in a real fight, like if you're really getting hit like that in a UFC match, you're probably going to be considered knocked out.
Right.
So there's, people are saying that, you need to buy the loot boxes in the UFC. Like, I don't know how well UFC sells, so I can't tell you if it's really going to affect anything.
Probably pretty well, I'd imagine. So on the the EA, is it the pass, whatever the EA
access,
little access? Thank you. I told you I'm bad with remembering names. So on the EA access, I saw I had like all these games I could play, and it's like 30. I got some deal like $35 a year, and I did it, and it doesn't expire. I still have a little while. I think I have till January or February to renew it, and I'm not going to renew it, and I'll tell you why. I played a little bit of the original Battlefield, and we'll get into Battlefield 2 in a minute, but it's mostly just sports games. I'm sure the fuck not playing Madden. I'm not playing FIFA. I'm not playing any of that crap. And that's mostly what it feels like it is. And you get some Battlefield in there. Need for Speed. But Need for Speed has long since been it used to be awesome, and now it just blows. Anyway, so I downloaded the UFC one with Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor on the cover. I guess last year's.
I think so,
the current one, and of course the new one's coming out. I didn't even play, and it was neat, but it was one of those things where you really have to be like interested in the mechanics of, I guess, fighting. I was kind of playing, and I just kind of wanted to play Ronda Rousey, right? Like, right. I know Ronda. I mean, it is. I mean, I know UFC is so much more than obviously Ronda Rousey's been around longer than her, but she kind of had her very brightly.
She had that like 11 win streak, and then
right,
she lost twice in a row, and she's been out ever since.
Right. So she's done apparently. But the star that burns twice as bright burns half as long. So that was Rousey's basically run, but she's kind of cool. So I wanted to play her. I just wanted to go. I just wanted to play Rousey and like beat people up with Rousey, and I couldn't. I guess you had to unlock her or something. So I was like, nah, I don't care who these guys are. I don't really dig the bravado. It's so much macho bullshit. So I didn't even dig into the game enough to see that the loot boxes that are in this current or whatever reward system exists in this current game exists in the next one or some evolution of it. I read on Reddit some guy was saying that like, it's the same. But and then of course it's one guy saying that. I read a lot of people just hearing the word loot boxes and people, their assholes started to pucker. But one guy, maybe he was just being more even-headed about it, or maybe he was being dismissive because there are those fanboys, and also it could be a plant. I mean, we know that there are paid plants in there.
On
people
Reddit,
yeah, to go in and talk something up, or try to
try to talk something down.
Right, I was gonna say, it's kind of like tamp out some of the fires before they turn into a blaze, like what happened with Battlefield 2. So who knows? Who knows what it is? But I do think it's reasonable to suspend any severe criticism until we know for sure.
Right.
However, if you're going to make an assumption, and of course we all do, I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that during its development cycle, I'm talking about the UFC, the next one coming up, that EA was trying to do the same thing that was going on with Battlefield 2, and I'm not trying to jump ahead, so I won't talk about that yet. But even the new Star Wars game that the Dead Space developer is working on, what's their name?
Visceral.
Visceral. I keep want to call them Volatile, which
That's
is another
a different
old
studio. Yeah.
Yeah, are they shut down? Volatile?
You know what? I don't know. I'd have to look.
But anyway, yeah. So apparently now, because that was a single player game, that Star Wars game, and EA said whatever bullshit that marketing speak, which ultimately was parsed into real speak, meaning, yeah, we want to turn this into a loot boxy, pay to win system, just like all of our other fucking games. So taking that in light and kind of seeing that EA kind of went all in on the whole, here's a game and here's a bunch of content that should be in the game, but you're going to have to either play for 10,000 hours or shell out another $10-20 to get it, kind of thing. So, and I wonder now, if EA is going to back up on that. I by the way, I don't think so. I think they're going to lie low for a little while, and then they're going to try to ratchet it back up.
I have a feeling you're right. If they can slowly start bringing their stock valuation back up, and then, over the next couple weeks or so, and then people seem to have died down about everything, you're right. They will definitely try to just put everything back in and just be like, oh, wait, no, we always planned on this. Because even when they disabled them in Battlefront 2, pardon me, they even said it was temporary until they could figure something out. But they definitely have also stated that they want progression involved with the loot boxes, which I don't like. So anyway, these Wilson loot boxes, as they're called, seem to be going everywhere. And, we can get into the Star Wars stuff with this. Well, what I was saying before was, this might be how he became CEO. And now that $3.1 billion in stock valuation has just vanished for the company, it could be the reason he gets ousted as CEO as well.
Maybe.
If they feel, or if it continues on a downward trend, and if the rest of the board feels, look, these loot boxes, now granted, they make a lot of money off that. If you look at how much they make almost 50% of their revenue right now off of loot boxes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like per year they're making over $800 million off of loot boxes, and most of it is from FIFA. Okay?
Right.
So,
and the funny thing is, whenever you look at statistics like that, and of course they have a term for it, whales, which are the big spenders, the whales are the ones. So if you look at the entire body, the entire demographic of people who actually will spend money on the loot boxes, you've got some people who might spend,
a couple
bucks. Usually it's like journalists or guys like me who is like in a game like, I really like that outfit. and I can only get that outfit by paying for it, fuck it.
Right.
I do. I pay for cosmetics, but cosmetics are part of the game, and I like my dudes to look cool when they're kicking some ass. Okay, so but yeah, it's a very small percentage actually who are the largest contributors to that. That very large, that 50% profit margin from loot crates and stuff. So it's amazing to me that it's actually a small percentage. It's a very small chunk of the gaming community that is actually contributing so much to this.
It's crazy. It really is. And Luke brought up, he's like, hey, not everybody can have not every company can have a Phil Spencer in chat.
True.
It's very true. But yeah,
Word, dude.
It's such a weird thing. They started making so much money from it, and Take-Two makes so much money from it on GTA 5, selling their shark cards.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna be honest. Listen, I have spent a lot of money on some shark cards. I probably honestly spent a couple $100 on shark cards, because I really wanted my own corporation, and I'm still eyeballing that yacht. And I want a yacht, and I don't have the time to grind for the money for my yacht. Although, when I did buy my bunker, again with cash, with like real world cash, and I started doing the thing, and you guys helped me. You and Chess Dog helped me. Who else was it? Was it just you two?
Yeah. And Luke every now and then, I think.
Yeah. So, I made a cool mill, and that was pretty sweet. So you can, like, once you get, at least in GTA, when you get rolling, when you start getting things set up, which is fun, right? Like, it's not even, I mean, there's some grind involved, but it's kind of fun to set all that stuff up. Your corporation, and I haven't even started doing all my illegal car shipping thing yet. That's fun. And I didn't feel like I was obligated to buy in. I wanted that bunker, and I wanted it immediately, right? As opposed to like a loot box thing. And by the way, when I bought my shark card, it was totally up to me what I bought, right? Like I didn't have to spend $100 or $50 or anything, and then open a box and hope that I got a bunker.
Right.
Like I just bought in-game cash. Now I got cash. Now I could do whatever I want with it. And I feel like that's a vastly different.
Oh, it definitely is. It's this
economy
it's the
thing.
Same thing with we've said it before with Titanfall and games like Warframe. You go in, you know exactly what you're buying. It's a different thing.
Right.
We'll get into that when we talk about what might be compromises we could deal with.
I think that's a fair compromise, right? Because if you want to play the game and grind, and some people love the grind.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll get into that in a couple minutes.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of finish my note on GTA, because we're not really comparing. We weren't trying to compare like the insidiousness of loot boxes to the same thing as shark cards. Just that a lot of people, they make a lot of money, and Rockstar has said we're still making a ton of money with these shark cards.
Rockstar has said that not just Rockstar, but Take-Two, is they want all of their games going forward to have something similar to continue to bring in money.
Yeah, which is all right, cool, that's fine. I just want to end my thought on this by saying it just would be nice if they didn't make everything so expensive. The Batmobile from the Tim Burton movies is in the game now.
Oh, really?
And I want it bad. It's like everything's like millions of dollars, and it takes a long time. Even if you did the gun running and stuff, like the stuff with your bunker and all the different cool stuff they're adding so you can make money, it still takes a long time, man. And so you get your bunker, for example, that costs millions to buy, and then you can upgrade your bunker with security because people can come in and steal your crap. I had about $500,000 worth of merchandise I hadn't moved yet. Somebody came in and stole it. You have to if it starts
players came in, or is it like NPCs?
It's NPCs.
Okay.
And so they can steal it, and then you have to go and steal it back, and you have to be careful because this is what happened to me. There's a truck you have to go and hijack. You have to get the truck back from them and take the truck back to your bunker. I accidentally blew up the truck, and they warn you, don't. If the truck gets damaged or destroyed, right? If the truck gets destroyed, you lose all your merchandise. I lost $500,000, and I was like, shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool. It's cool that there's like that. That's drama, but it just sucks because that's time too. Like that $500,000 in game has an actual real world time equivalency, and I lost that time.
It does.
So that I was just sort of like, Dude, make everything not quite so expensive because you can get a car and then you can upgrade your car and a base like a car you really want or an airplane or whatever might cost you 2 million, and then upgrade it further, that thing might wind up costing you 4 million. That's so much time, and that's just one thing, and there's like a dozen things that are awesome in this game that you're going to want. A yacht is like 8 million. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, so it's cool. It's cool. I'm not complaining that, you know, I don't think that Take-Two or Rockstar is ripping me off, but hey, man, you know,
maybe look at the pricing
a little bit. I mean, I don't think they're going to because they're making money hand over fist, clearly, but it would be nice. Maybe they'd make more money. Maybe more people would, I don't know, opt in if they were like, how am I going to spend, you know, money on the shark because I can't even afford the stuff that I want.
Yeah.
More people might buy the cheaper cards if stuff wasn't so fucking expensive.
Maybe. Yeah. So, but anyway, as I was researching, so apparently Lucasfilm was involved with Battlefront, and they were completely behind everything that EA was doing. Okay, this was Lucasfilm. And then, of course, the Danish Gaming Committee and the Belgian Gaming Committee started looking at stuff. And two words got put together that Disney did not like to see put together. And that is gambling. Well, 3 words. Gambling and Star Wars. Okay?
Word.
Because as much as people like you and me have been with the Star Wars franchise for over 30 years, Star Wars is still aimed towards kids. It's still like a kids' movies and stuff like that. You know, it's not too violent. And, you know, there's no gratuitous blood. There's no cursing, that sort of stuff. And, you know, kids like it. But it got to the point where apparently one of the Disney executives got on the phone with EA. And this is why they turned off the microtransactions for now. And rumor has it that they threatened EA with the loss of their exclusive license to Star Wars over this.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
And not that I like the fact that EA has the exclusive license, but that's a big threat to EA because they already have the exclusive license to the NFL. They have the exclusive license to FIFA. They've pretty much given up on their other games that don't have exclusive licenses. I don't even know if they make hockey games anymore. I know they don't. I think somebody else has the exclusive game or license to the MLB, so they don't even make baseball games anymore. Not that I even know if they sell.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, but you know, EA likes having exclusive. They don't want competition. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why they've received like 3 years in a row the Golden Turd Award from Consumer Reports.
Yeah,
I think it's Consumer Reports or the Economist, one of them.
One of them, yeah. So Disney got involved. The Belgian Gaming Committee has released a preliminary statement that says they believe that it's gambling. Okay, and that they're going to continue investigating. And that if they find that it is gambling or they truly feel it's gambling, that they're going to push for like an EU-wide ban on loot crates like that. Which would hit not just EA, but it would hit Activision Blizzard, Take-Two. Well, maybe not Take-Two if they're not doing loot crates. But, you know, Overwatch does the loot crates. And I know a lot of people like to say that... It's
just for cosmetic stuff, but it's there.
But it's there. And you can
I'm not
buy
defending.
them for real money.
I'm just saying, like, you know, there's when you're using it and it's not so draconian like the way EA is, you know, you're kind of ruining it for companies like, well, I got no tear in my beer for Blizzard either, but because you know, but
well, if you think about it, Blizzard does the same thing in Hearthstone. Hearthstone is a free-to-play game, and you can buy card packs with real money, and those card packs affect your game because you're getting new cards.
True, which is shitty. By the way, I also want to point out, and other people have definitely pointed this out, that, you know, on top of the loot crate stuff where you're getting actual good or epic gear, this is a you know, Battlefield 2 is a full price game.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't make it better if a game. At least
Hearthstone is free to play.
Right. I mean, maybe at a bare minimum, but it's still shitty that it's that it's pay to win. You know,
Right.
it's still not cool, but you know, you don't want to marginalize something just because you don't have to pay for it up front. But it's kind of hard not to say, at least if you're going to play the game, it's almost like you get a sense of the mechanics. You know, it's free to play. Like, you basically can play as much as you want, and you get a sense of the fun gameplay. So if you do want more powerful cards, you want to get up to that upper echelon of gameplay, and you kind of have to invest a little something, but you invest on your own terms.
Right.
I downloaded Hearthstone once and played it for like 5 minutes. I get real bored on my phone. I just don't play games on my phone. It's boring to me.
I have Hearthstone on my PC, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't really play games on my PC. Normally, when I sit down on my PC, I'm usually about ready to write some code. And then I'm like, I want to go blow some shit up. And I go get my Xbox.
Right.
But,
well, so the Danish committee hasn't really, they've said they're investigating. They haven't said much. But the Belgian one, if that goes through, though, it would hurt more than just EA.
Yeah, it's a what's the term I'm looking for? A boondoggle? I don't fucking know. It's bad for the entire gaming industry, because if American politicians can sniff out something that they can politicize, or some regulation they can make money on, you know, because the ESA is just basically a lobbying arm. They don't they're not on our side as gamers.
No.
I just like that they spend money doing reports on demographics. So I'll pull up their demographics because that's useful. That's the only fucking useful thing they do. Here's the thing, man. And you know, we don't want another Leland Yee situation where we have politicians who makes it his freaking crusade to start crucifying games for every little goddamn thing. And this is what pisses me off.
And then turns out to be working for the fucking Yakuza or something.
Right. Oh yeah, they're so worried about. Yeah. No, he was smuggling guns.
Right, but I think he was for the Yakuza.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, EA, calm the fuck down. Okay.
Calm
now
your tits.
you get government regulation coming in, and shit gets all fucked up. You know, because it's not about the government really cares about what the kids are playing, because kids shouldn't be playing like fucking games where you're getting headshots anyway. Really, you know what I mean? And games rated M aren't for kids, but the government doesn't make that distinction because that doesn't really fit into their narrative.
They wanted to. That's why we have the rating system now, if you remember, though. Because you had people like Lieberman. It's a
self-imposed rating system. It's not a government regulated. And that's the thing. EA, fucking know your role, man, okay? And slow it. Because we don't want the government coming in and telling us how the games we want to play should be built, distributed, how reward system should be built. Yeah, okay, they're a little fucked up right now, but we gotta keep the self-regulation thing in place.
Yeah.
And when they do shit like this, what it is it's you know, CEOs coming from backgrounds that aren't gaming who are just like, oh well, here's you know, I've got my spreadsheet here, and fun doesn't factor into it. We're going to talk about, you know, the whole endorphin human reaction to, you know, minor rewards spread out over a period of time, and they learn how to game that and tap into some gambling shit. It's fucking us up, man. Back the fuck off, because then the government comes sniffing in. We don't want that.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Which is actually funny that you mention it that way too. There was a representative from Hawaii, so he was, you know, obviously U.S., and he came out and literally called Battlefront 2 a Star Wars themed casino aimed at children. Okay, and that and that was on like major news networks. That was
What's it rated? What's Battlefield rated?
T.
All right, fair.
Okay. As a matter of fact, I think Disney and LucasArts have a strict no M rating or above for Star Wars games. They have to be T or below, which sounds about right. Again, it's marketed towards kids and teenagers who love Star Wars. Great. But then he also came out like a day or two later and said that he would, because apparently he is a gamer, and so is one of the other representatives that had joined him, that he would much rather the industry self-police themselves over that than have the government get involved. Good evening, Brian. Good evening. And you know, so you're talking about the self-regulation as well with the ESRB and everything else like that. Right. You know, for those of you who are too young to remember, back in the 90s with Mortal Kombat and Night Trap and a couple other games, You had people like Senator Joseph Lieberman, Tipper Gore, all those people. They were really trying to push for the government to get involved in it. And then the ESA, which wasn't the ESA at the time, but they were called something slightly different, created the ESRB. And now that there was a rating system similar to the MPAA's rating system, the government went more hands off. Okay? And it's such a weird thing when you look at these loot box things. It's like everybody's seen them now. They see how much money can potentially be made from it. Like I said, EA is making over $800 million a year off of them, and most of it is from FIFA. Okay? And when you look at the percentage there, it's like 45% of their earnings, I think, per year are loot boxes now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's a huge jump over what it was just a few years ago. But, you know, I understand. Here we can talk about, like, the compromises we can get into. I can understand that the argument that EA likes to put out... Well, actually, no, let's talk about one of the other arguments. Is one of the reasons they didn't do cosmetic only is because of Star Wars canon. And the guy was like, I don't think you want a pink Darth Vader going around. I was like, motherfucker, I'll take a Hello Kitty Darth Vader going around just for the fuck of it. Because how awesome would it be to have the kill screen on somebody showing a Hello Kitty Darth Vader killing them? You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess.
You know, but I mean, how awesome would it be for you knowing that the guy's looking at it and go, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean?
Right.
Those sorts of things. And, you know, people are like, really? That's why you didn't do it? But yet there's no customization for the characters, the regular characters, that sort of stuff. And it's like, you don't even need them on the Bane characters. Fine, you know, whatever. But you still could have done it. And now it's been discovered, somebody data mined into Battlefront 2, that there were cosmetic options, pardon me, in there for the heroes. Beyond the bearded Han Solo one, I think is the only one that you can unlock.
There's a bearded Han Solo?
Yeah, I don't know why.
When did he have a beard in the store and in like elsewhere in the canon?
I don't know. No idea.
Right.
So,
was there a Indiana Jones skin for Han in the first one?
I don't remember.
Because I'd play that. I would play that.
That would be pretty cool. But, you know, we have to look at the reality is these sorts of microtransactions are probably here to stay. It's either going to be microtransactions as one way to make money, or they're going to raise the price of games $10 to $20.
I'd rather they raise them.
$20 though?
Yep. I know it's unpopular, and I was actually watching some. Somebody else on YouTube was talking about this. Yeah, listen. I don't want to have to spend any more money than I need to in any situation, okay? But I would much rather get a complete game where I don't have to worry about like stupid economies just to play the game and get extra content. Like to get content that's already in the game but is locked behind something. And especially I can't stand loot boxes. I hate when, and I went through this with Halo 5. There was a particular helmet that I wanted, okay? And it took me a long time to get it, and I spent a lot of money on Halo 5.
Show.
I did.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like, I just wanted to buy the frickin' helmet.
Right.
So, you know, yeah, realistically, I'd spend an extra $20 on a game if they stopped it with the like the in-game, and they can keep doing season passes and like extra downloadable content crap, like, you know, more chunks of the game, but just get rid of like in-game like microtransactions. Yeah.
You see, I'm not too bad. Again, if they're cosmetic only, I'm not too bad on the in-game microtransactions. Like I said, Titanfall 2, I've spent easily at least $100 on the microtransactions, but they are all cosmetic. They don't do anything for your gameplay.
Right. And in that case, like you mentioned, you know, before, you knew what you were getting. You could say, I got this pack because I wanted that one skin.
Or that one camo or whatever. Right. Or that Prime Titan, you know. But you're right. I knew exactly what I was going for. I said, this is what I want. okay, it costs this much. Am I willing to pay for that? Yes or no? I'm fine with those, okay? And I understand the argument, okay? I can understand it, that people like in the game companies make is, well, some people have more money than time, and so they would like a faster way to get stuff. And here's where I can say, okay, well, here's where we can make a compromise. All right?
All right, let me hear it.
All right. So, if EA still wants some sort of progression tied to these loot boxes for the people that want to spend the money, what I say is do it kind of like how Warframe and a couple other games do it, and sell boosters. XP boosters, credit boosters, whatever.
Right.
Okay? Again, now this is not ideal. I'm going to point that out. This is not my ideal solution.
Right, it's a
but
compromise.
it's one I could compromise and deal with. Is you can sell the credit boosters, you can sell the XP boosters, whatever you need to sell. Because Warframe does it. You can buy all sorts of boosters. You can buy money booster, you can buy resource booster, you can buy XP boosters. But that's also a free-to-play game.
And you can get them for spans of time. You can get it. It'll last for a day. It'll last for whatever. So you can get like different strengths of them. So you spend more.
Right. Okay, but you can sell the boosters, and then all the other stuff just make cosmetic, and I could live with that. Okay, that would maybe get me to buy the game, because Luke had said in our chat. I don't think you have it open. He said it's a shame for DICE because they made a really good game, but now they're getting lumped in with all this other stuff.
Yeah, they should just wear. What chat are you looking at? You looking at
YouTube?
Oh, YouTube. I'm like on Mixer here.
I got all three open. Obviously.
All right. Let me get over there on YouTube. YouTube has a chat
for the live streams. Yeah.
Holy shit! All right. Dig it.
And then Brian's in there. You remember Brian Field? He's talking about like Path of Exile, which I did download again. I had the beta, and it's pretty fun. And that works kind of the same way. It's mostly cosmetic, but they give you the full game for free, and then you can pay extra money if you want for other stuff. Okay, cool. Now granted, some of it is game-changing stuff, but not all. But again, it's a free-to-play game. It's kind of... Isn't it? It's so weird that we're talking about it in this respect, because there are things that we will accept in a free-to-play game that we definitely do not want to accept in a full-price game.
I just think they should just copy the Warframe model. It's perfect. It's pretty damn perfect. I never felt egregiously put upon by the way Warframe asks you to pay for things. Right. It doesn't nag you. It doesn't, it doesn't give you an insurmountable grind for things. I mean, there's a fucking grind.
No, there is.
But there's also so many other things you could do while you're doing that grind. Like, there are certain weapons that are easier to grind for, to build. You can have fun with them while you're grinding for the harder to get stuff. Like, I really want that Prime Nakana. I don't even know if I'm ever going to get it, but because that's a major grind. But they keep trying to change it and alter it.
Did we just get that from our Twitch Prime?
The Nakana Prime. It's like the katana. It's like the super.
Okay, no, never mind. Yeah. We got an axe. We got an axe on ours.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I like the way Warframe does it. Again, they sell the boosters, and so for people who want to get things faster, that's how they do it. They sell the Prime Titans. They sell, or not Titans. They sell the Prime Warframes. They sell the regular Warframes. So if you want it, and you don't want to spend the money and then the time to build it, or you don't want to spend the time to get the materials and then the time to build it, you can just say, you know what, let me buy it. Okay? And that's fine. And you're right, they don't push it on you. It's not like the marketplace is popping up in your face all the time. Nothing like that. And you can have a lot of fun.
And on top of that, they also have with their platinum anybody who plays. Anybody who knows this already knows this. So you can trade Prime stuff only. You can't trade any other stuff. But people want the Prime stuff. I want an Nakana Prime. In fact, if I want one, probably I'll have to learn their the marketplace that people have. But that is totally open, man. Like, I don't know if they make if they're somehow in the middle and they make some money off of that, or they just said, all right, guys, you've got extra, blueprint parts.
Yeah,
for
no, I
your...
don't think they make any money off it because
I
there
don't
are
either.
people that have never spent money, like real world money, but they have a ton of platinum because they were able to grind out and build
First things that other people want, and they'll pay
prime
platinum for
stuff
that.
that was wanted, and
Yeah.
that people would pay platinum for, which is their real world money bought currency. So
Right. So
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like it's pretty close to perfect, and they even have a system in place for gamers to engage with one another in a real world market sort of scenario to get the...
oh shit, Skype's messing up on me. Hold on.
I don't know.
Oops, there we go.
Do what fucking Digital Extremes is doing, people.
Yeah. Okay, our Skype messed up a little bit. William Smith in the comments has said he's enjoying the discussion, by the way, over on YouTube.
Is that one William Smith, WCW provocateur?
I am not sure.
Huh.
Is that you, Bill? Is that you?
Probably. Hey, Bill.
It might be.
Anyway,
but
the whole thing put me off Battlefield, and I know a lot of people probably were put off by it because the sales dropped pretty significantly, right? Do you have the numbers?
Well, the physical sales dropped. The UK said it was down 61%, but we have to remember that doesn't take into account digital sales, okay, which have become more popular. It is him, yes, awesome. But could you see that compromise that I'm saying? And have them as separate things to buy too. It's not like, okay, here's your loot crate and you could potentially get your XP boosters. It's like, look, here's your cosmetics, here's your XP credit, whatever boosters. Make them separate and then let people decide. Is that like a compromise you could live with too? Even though it is quote pay to win to get your stuff up faster.
Yeah, that probably by definition a fair example of a compromise, I guess.
Okay. And then of course the last thing that we would have to discuss on it though is EA bought Respawn.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so there's a comic I remember seeing, and apparently it's made its rounds a couple times through the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like stick figures, real crude, but it's like it's EA walking a developer that it bought to a cliff, and the developer can't see that the cliff is already full of like other dead developers, and EA is holding a gun to the back of the head of the...
Yeah, there's another one that also has made the rounds of doing like the Christmas Carol. Oh, is this the future that's definitely set or things to come? And it's like, EA is the Grim Reaper, and then it shows like Visceral and a couple other studios that they've killed off lately, and it's Respawn is the guy crying over the grave.
Yeah, never saw that one, but my thing is, yeah, now that EA bought Respawn,
I'm fearful.
I bet you the third one's going to be cool, right? But it's going to have they're going to shoehorn in some bullshit. And then the fourth one will just feel like everything we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Because, let's put it this way. I've spent a lot of extra money on Titanfall, and it's all cosmetic, and I'm fine with that. And if they could just keep that in Titanfall, I'll be okay with it. But you know how these publishers are. They're going to look at it and go, well, look, if we do this, we can make more money. And they're going to try to shoehorn in other things like that they're not good for the gamer. Okay, I'm not saying that the cosmetics are good for the gamer either, because you could say, well, they've been pulled out. But at the same time, again, the choice is mine with the cosmetics. As direct purchases. The choice is mine. And it was my choice to spend $60 on the game, and then it was my choice later on to spend another $100. And I've probably spent more than other people, but I've probably also spent less than other people, because there are some things I haven't bought. Yeah. You know what I mean? it's just I really hope that they don't fuck Respawn over, because I really want Titanfall 3 and beyond to be good. And I want their Star Wars game that they were working on already to be good too.
It might be good. You know, for everything we were just saying about Battlefield 2, you know, I read some reviews, and when you get past the conversations about the cornholing that was the loot box system, just like in UFC, you've got a good game there. Apparently the game was fun to play. So.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I played the beta. Okay, now granted, the campaign is only supposed to be like 4 or 5 hours long. So and it has like a plot twist that everybody sees coming, and it was kind of shitty because like one of the big draws of it, and I might as well say it because it's not like it's a huge secret. One of the big draws was you were going to play as the Empire's side. And then at like 2 or 3 missions in, you switch over to the Rebels. And it's like, really? I mean, you had to do that. It would actually be cool to play from the Empire.
You didn't make a spoiler warning. Spoiler alert.
Oh darn! Yeah.
Presents, man, presents.
Yeah, but people know already. It's been out for a while.
I only just found out recently. I didn't know that. I thought that was interesting. It made it more interesting to me, more compelling, that they were going to tell a story from the perspective of somebody who's working, you know, from the dark. Well, not the dark side, but
who believes in the Empire. Because that's how they were brought up.
Right. Like they're saying, like, listen, you know, we're trying to bring stability and we're trying to bring order, security.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, a lot like the GOP today. You know, they sell out poor people bullshit to make them feel safe and secure. So sorry, I didn't mean to get political, but the parallels are there. It's very easy when you're on a side to find all the reasons that side is right, even when, you know, hindsight's 20/20 and you know it's a bad thing. But yeah, and then of course they did the flip. Evidently very early on in the game, so
it's only like
you never even
3 or something like that.
So they didn't even so it was sort of like a missed opportunity to explore a really cool story and maybe even really try to convince the audience, the game, you know, the gamers, like imagine if you're growing up and really try to tell the story from the perspective of somebody who believes that the Empire was on the right side of history. That would have been cool, but lack of imagination.
Right, yeah, it really comes down to that, and you go. And that actually could have been something where, like, okay, they could have actually stretched it out. Let's say they still kept it a 5-hour campaign, whatever. But you stay the Empire the whole time. Then Battlefront 3, you would continue that story. You know what I mean? It could. You know what would be cool
by Battlefield 3. You know, maybe if you want to have a whole story and you've done that, you've achieved what you wanted to do by trying to tell a legitimate story from the other side, and then have them flip in the third one.
Right,
you know,
that's what I'm saying. Like you continue there, and then they start really noticing that yes, the Empire is evil. Right. Yes, you know they are doing it.
Right. That would have been cool because then you're invested in the character, and then that transition is more meaningful because of course
more natural.
Right.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. So
no, they didn't. But yeah. So and I know Luke plays Battlefront 2. He has it. So does Curse and a couple others. And apparently, like I played the beta, and the Starfighter Assault is actually really fun once you get used to the controls, which you know are kind of battlefieldy flying controls, which I'm not the best at. But also just the general multiplayer gameplay is really fun too. Yeah, they built a good game, and now it's been dragged down because EA is a bunch of greedy fucks. And I'm really, really fearful that the same thing is going to happen to Titanfall with Respawn.
It's going to happen, dude. It's going to happen. It's maybe not in the first game, or you know, the next game rather. Probably the one after that, but maybe it might take a couple iterations because they're going to start hammering them out like a franchise. You know, they're just going to milk it. Let me ask you a question though. Do you think? Because let's not. You know, I don't want to play fanboy and think that every big publisher there's like one of them is the saintly one. Like they all just want to.
No, they all
want to make money. But let me ask you: do you think that say EA lost the license and Disney was like, you dropped the ball,
or if they lost the exclusivity to it at least,
or whatever they did, EA doesn't, and Disney went to Bethesda, would you, or if Bethesda bought Respawn, how would you feel about that?
See, ZeniMax isn't much better, so it's
ZeniMax, of course, being the parent company.
But yeah, they're Bethesda's parent company. It's really weird because Bethesda just brought out Wolfenstein 2, and apparently that's a fairly short campaign, and it's a $60 game with not a whole lot to it. It's just a single player game. Like when I got Wolfenstein on my Xbox, it was on sale. Or maybe it might have even been on Games with Gold. It might have even been free. But it's not a long campaign. And then Wolfenstein 2, again, it's not a long campaign. There is no multiplayer. So it's a little weird. The Fallout stuff, they've been using the same goddamn engine for that shit since time immemorial. And it's really showing its age. Although the 4K patch, just so you know, has arrived for Fallout 4.
Yeah, I didn't. I booted up today for a hot minute. I didn't get a chance to play, but I want to check it out.
And Fortnite got its 4K patch as well.
Oh, did it? I downloaded Fortnite again because I thought that you seem to be really digging it, and I might.
I don't play it much, but when I play it, I enjoy it.
I might get the full Fortnite game. I'm a supporter of Epic. Mm-hmm. Listen, when we're talking about companies, nobody's perfect, but Epic isn't a publisher. They're still a game developer, and they're still independent. So I really just want to give my support to independent.
Although they made it into the news this week too.
For suing that kid.
Yeah.
The cheater.
Yeah.
He's like 14. That might not. Who? Yeah. I mean.
Well, they're saying that it was because he did a DMCA counter notice, and according to the law, which this is correct, if you file a DMCA against someone, and they file a DMCA counterclaim against you, counter notice, you have 10 days to either sue them or you have to drop it completely. And they said, fine, we'll sue. But remember, they're also saying one of their claims, though, is that he was not only using the cheats from this website, but that he was actually part of the website, or that he was at least getting kickbacks from it by giving people the link to it.
Are they really suing the kid, though, or are they suing his parents?
Well, now it's probably going to move to the parent.
Yeah.
Because now that it's found out that he's 14 years old, legally you can't sue a 14-year-old, but you can sue their guardians.
Honestly, when I hear about law stuff, especially when it gets like lawyers and suing and class action lawsuits, I always feel like it's in a realm that I don't understand well enough, and I almost just feel like it's never anything to get too worked up about. There's so much formality and like, oh, well, you did this, so we're required to do this. So like almost like the way if you don't use your what is it, your trademark or your copyright or something.
Your copyright is different, but if you,
I know they're both different. One of them you have to use, you lose it.
Right, trademark. You have to protect your trademark, or you could potentially lose it.
Right. So people do sometimes dumb things, like they made a really shitty Hellraiser movie. And they cranked it out. They didn't even have the original Hellraiser actor. I can't remember his name. The actual Pinhead actor in there. But like they made a really shitty movie quickly just to protect the trademarks. Yep. And then, so they do stuff like that. And you're like, there's weird laws. So when I hear stuff like that, like I don't really hold that against Epic, right? I'm not like, oh, Epic, you shitheads. Like, whatever. So I do like to support independent game developers, the few that are out there, especially Epic, man. Epic has my heart. So, I downloaded Fortnite because I figured we could play that. I didn't know that they got the 4K patch, but that's cool.
It just came out Tuesday. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I did see a comparison video, and the draw distance, like just what you can see out in the distance, is apparently much cleaner, stuff like that. That's actually a game I don't know if it has HDR, but that would benefit from HDR just because of how cartoony it is. If you know what I'm saying. Right. So.
Anyway, I do want to say something else, and we can kind of wrap it up. This is kind of like end note stuff. I've been playing some Just Cause 3. That's fun. It's a little annoying sometimes, but it's fun. But I wanted to say, just in terms of 4K stuff. So I found a bunch of 4K movies on Amazon Prime on Xbox, and they have actually a whole section of these are our 4K movies you can watch.
Now, do you have to pay extra for that or no?
No.
Okay, because on Netflix, I think you have to pay extra to get the 4K streaming.
I read that, and I'll do that, but I didn't. I don't know how. I don't know where. I guess I'd have to check. It's my wife's We like divvy up who pays for what, right? Like I have like the Amazon Prime.
No, I do the same thing. I pay for Amazon Prime. My brother, even though he's not living here, my brother pays for Netflix.
Right, yeah. So we got to split up. So I don't know what we got going on with that. But no, Amazon Prime, they've just got a selection of movies. And so I found one, and there's one of the movies I really like called Neon Demon. It's a I don't know how to pronounce his name, Nicholas Wendig Refn, whatever. He was the director of Drive. Really good movie too. But yeah, so he did this Neon Demon really, really artfully. He's kind of like this generation's David Lynch.
Okay.
And so it's good. It's good stuff. Real cerebral. He does a lot of like really cool like 80s like neonish colors, you know, like with bright purple and reds and blues.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, my point was I finally got a chance to watch a movie in UHD, and yes, I can see the difference. Yes, I can see the difference, and it is glorious.
It is glorious.
I just wanted to add that. Like I'm like, oh, I can see it now. I'm finally watching something I know. UHD. I want to add another note to this. Microsoft needs to get their shit together because they're introducing UHD movies to the marketplace.
Right.
And some movies you may have already purchased have received an upgrade. Blade Runner, the original, because I bought the UHD version of 2049. It's not out yet.
Right.
The original Blade Runner is also now available in UHD. I want that.
You have to rebuy it.
I don't mind rebuying it. I understand that you're buying a whole new repackaging, right? A higher quality version. I don't mind that. I spent it's on Twitter. I'm talking to Microsoft support, and I'm like, hey, listen, I wanna, and they're I don't think English. Whoever support I was talking to, I don't think English was their first language. No, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying they didn't understand what I was saying, and it was really, really frustrating. I said, listen, I saw that there was a UHD version of Blade Runner available. I wanted to buy that. But once you buy something in the marketplace, it's grayed out. It just lets you say play it, but you can't like select.
Oh, so you can't like upgrade or rebuy it.
Thank you. Yeah, I was definitely rambling my way to that point. Yeah, you can't rebuy it at a higher like fidelity. So it's sort of like now once you own it, all the options to buy are grayed out. You can't even do that on the app. Like for the desktop, you go into the Windows Store on your computer. There's nowhere to rebuy it, and I keep saying that to them. I'm like, I tried to rebuy it, and then at one point in the conversation, I'm just like, I just want to upgrade to the thing. I'm like, oh, we're gonna have to go to the store and repurchase it. Kept sending me a link to the store, which is the place.
And you're like, this is exactly what I'm saying. I can't buy it from the store.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to upgrade. How do I upgrade? Like, oh, yeah, here's a link. I'm like, yeah, that's the place I want to buy it. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to buy it if you want the upgrade. I'm like, that's what I want. Like, it was so circular.
It won't let me. Yeah.
And then eventually I said, you are very frustrating. Or I said, this conversation is very frustrating. I don't want the free upgrade. I want to pay for the better upgrade. Give me Blade Runner in ultra high def. And they just ignored me at that point because I don't think they understood what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Because all they know is like, oh, here's the link to buy it. Yeah, did that. Jack off. Now I want the better version.
Right.
Fuck
I
you.
got you. Yeah. So Brian asks an interesting question. Do we think that the future of gaming is going to be subscription based instead of upfront costs and season passes?
My response is gaming as a service, and everything is as a service nowadays. You have software as a service. You have product platform as a service. I'm a developer, so like everything is being provided as kind of, instead of you buying to own stuff, you pay some sort of fee to use it until you don't need it anymore, and then you stop paying for it. So yeah, I totally think that games
it's going to move that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, everything right now, MMOs work like that, but yeah, I think that
Game Pass
as Game Pass, but even that's really, that's gaming as a service technically. But I mean, that's on a macro level, right? But like, maybe to Brian's point, more on a micro level, like just regular, even like single player games will be, probably no.
It would probably be more of a subscription to the publisher.
It would be more like Netflix for gaming, and yeah, I do think that that's where it's going. Absolutely,
I think there's a definite chance. I mean, like you said with the platform stuff. Look, I pay $50 a month for my Adobe stuff. People, Office is no longer you buy it and own it. It's Office 360. You got to pay for it year round, like $100 a year, or whatever.
Although, so.
Well, Office, I think there's twice.
Well, I'm rethinking it. Like, it's a really great question because here's the other thing. I don't know how much more are they making now? Like, so every gamer would have to then, get a subscription to, probably maybe that developer or
publisher.
Right now, the publisher, yeah. I don't know, because does the publisher make more money or less? Because if they can, at each individual game, they can tack on some Loot Crate or Season Pass, and then for however long range of time, a year, say, they're making money from that game. There are the outliers, the unicorns like GTA 5, where people just keep paying. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. Is I think that there is a great possibility that each individual game could be the service. Right now, if you look at Shark Cards, right, like GTA keeps adding, or Rockstar keeps adding really great content to GTA 5, but in order to access that content, like it's in there. You'll get an update saying, oh, now this is available, but you can't play it until you've bought it. And you either have to grind for it or pay for cash outright. And maybe in the future they'll say, or you can have a subscription. If you subscribe, like an MMO or something, you'll have access in some form. Some stuff you still have to grind for, but you'll get access to basic components of each new upgrade. Right. I don't know. It's a great question, and I think that in some fashion, yes, the concept of you bought the game, now you own the game, and it's your game is
going out the window.
Away. Yeah. However that shakes out in the future, but yeah, there's just be some sort of
might not be quick. It could be 10, 15 years down the road before this really would kick in anyway. Yeah, and then.
So Bill wants to know: have digital game sales surpassed physical? And then you're talking about stats, but it's close, right?
It's getting closer. Okay, it's getting closer. We also still have to remember that there are still people worldwide who don't have the internet connections or the bandwidth on their internet connection, even if the internet connection could deal with the downloading, to download games. And especially on the X with their 4K patches, like, you want Quantum Break on Game Pass? Great. You have an Xbox One X? Great. You want the full game with all the movies? 176 gigabytes. And some people only get 250 gigabytes of bandwidth a month. There are still places that do that.
Yeah.
And they're under Comcast and they're under Time Warner and, all these things. So
anyway, yeah,
they haven't yet, but eventually I have a feeling, I think if not the next console cycle, the one after that will be going the way of PC and getting rid of optical media drives.
Yeah, I actually was looking at I was watching YouTube today, and somebody they just had a screenshot of the X next to the S Xbox, one, and I was looking, and I had never really noticed before, but the S is different from the X in that the drive is in the sort of the top part.
It's a bit more prominent.
Yeah, and I was like, at first, because my X is black, and I'm like, oh fuck, does it not have a drive? Not that I care, but I thought, oh shit, because we do have, my wife likes to play Blu-ray movies on it still.
Right.
So I'm like, shit, did they do away with the optical drive?
Yeah, no, and then because you have to look, you just see that little darker area where the drive.
Yeah, it's right underneath. It's.
Yeah, but I think if not the next cycle, which will probably be in 3 to 4 years, the one after that will definitely be getting rid of physical media, because the PC has gotten rid of it. It started with Apple getting rid of their optical drives, and now getting an optical drive on a PC, whether it's pre-built or you're building it yourself, there's almost no use for it. Nobody goes and buys software anymore. They download it.
Yeah.
So like I said, I think if not this one, next one. And maybe only Nintendo might be slightly different on that, because they do their own thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that we kind of covered all the ground on the topics. The show. You got anything else you want to add?
No. I mean, going off of what you just said, like, I haven't bought a disc-based game for my Xbox. The only physical media I've bought is for my Switch.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't. Yeah. I've said this before. The only time I bought disc-based games was Battlefield 4 and Dead Rising 3, which were launch titles for the Xbox, and that was the Xbox One. And when that launched, if you remember, of course, they didn't have they had digital downloads, but day one digital downloads wasn't quite yet a thing, and certainly not at midnight. Like now, we expect all of our games to be available at midnight on launch day. But back then,
if you pre-order, yeah.
If you pre-order, right? So I thought that, you could even, you could just buy it. Like it'd be 12:01, and you could just decide to buy it, and you just download it and you play it. So it's just available immediately. But that wasn't, I think, remember, let's not take that for granted, kids. That shit had to get worked out. And, now they're finally, I think, starting to, they're discussing gifting games. But anyway, I bought those 2 games just because I wanted something to play the day I got my Xbox, and I didn't want to have to, go download an old game or something.
Right,
so,
yeah.
And that's it. It was, I was calling it an experiment at the time because I wanted to see how satisfying, I would be like, because the big thing for me was it was going to be getting rid of what I was calling basically my gaming economy, which was I was buying games and then I would trade in old games. Yeah. So I'd have money for the next games I wanted to buy. And this time now I just had to buy all my games flat out and just be stuck with owning them forever. Part of the genesis of my evolution in there. And yeah, Bill, I do kind of miss standing in lines too, but I hated the midnight standing in lines in the city. I didn't mind it when I lived in Jersey because you'd be in the store and it was kind of like you'd be the only people out there. I remember we stood in line for Halo 2, Halo 2. I stood in line at EB Games in just outside of Audubon.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that was awesome.
I was at the Game Crazy, the Hollywood Video by my house.
Yeah, and it was awesome because the whole plaza was empty except for us, and the cops were driving by like, "What's going on here, dorks?" You know what I mean? Like, but like,
what are you nerds doing over here?
Like, we were all excited for the same reason, and there was that instant community. And Brian said that, not Bill. Sorry, I saw the B and just thought, know. But no, I did enjoy that. But then when I moved to the city, and on South Street, which is kind of a big popular sort of bar crawl area in center city Philadelphia, it's not only right across the street from my favorite bars, which at first was awesome. It was like, oh, I'll hang out in Tattooed Moms, drink a while, then go hop over in line. But it's such a busy street, even late at night, like midnight, 1 o'clock, there's still tons of people walking around. Yeah, and honestly, there was like it was weird. I got transported back into grade school. People walking by laughing, literally pointing and laughing because they saw a bunch of dorks standing outside in line at GameStop. And I'm like, this fucking sucks. And so the last time I stood in line for anything was my Xbox. It was an Xbox One. No, it was the Xbox One. Oh man, what the hell? It was the last newer one before they started doing the S and stuff.
So the
Why
Xbox
am I doing?
One.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was the Xbox.
The day one.
Edition.
Yeah.
Was it day one?
We
I don't
both,
remember.
We
Yeah,
both
it was.
had day one editions. Yeah,
that's right.
I was at Best Buy. I was at the same Best Buy where you bought your 360 years before.
Right.
Over in Deptford.
I'm confused now. I don't remember. No, because my day one edition was. Shit. You know what? I don't know. Anyway, I can't remember. I was standing in a line. It was something, and it was just people. And I was also standing in line for Final Fantasy when Final Fantasy came out for the first time on the Xbox. And
what a disappointment that ended up being.
13. Yeah, and again, same thing. And I just honestly, I didn't want to stand there being mocked. It just wasn't fun. I didn't feel good about it, and it was just a different vibe. Like back maybe in like sort of more isolated places out in Jersey, it was more fun, but I don't miss it. I'm glad to have it at my house on the day, although I did have to wait for my Xbox One X because whatever. But no, yeah, the community's cool when the community's there, like that that fellowship of gamers. But in the city, it's a little different, and it's just a bunch of drunken assholes. And I'm like, I could get drunk and be an asshole too. In fact, in some cases, I'd have to be drunk to stand in line because it was fucking cold.
Yeah. That's the other thing. We don't live in a nice temperate like Floridian or Atlanta or fucking California climate. We get cold in November.
Yeah. No, but I agree with Brian. Like I do miss that camaraderie, and it's same. I'll say this too. I'm sorry, we're just going off on a tangent here at the end of the show, but I do miss proximity chat from the original Xbox with Halo 2. Like, listen, whole just slew of fucking assholes, right? Saying all kinds of sexist and racist shit that nobody wants to hear unless you're an asshole just like them.
The prick list.
The prick list, right? DropShock did the prick list, which I thought was a really interesting expose on that because, it's amazing when people have anonymity and the total safety of distance. Like they don't have to worry about you fucking jaw jacking them,
right? Yeah,
which is what they deserve. But that notwithstanding, I also made a lot of friends in Halo 2. Like, I have friendships. I made more friends playing Halo 2 that I still have on my friends list and keep, because every once in a while they might pop in a game, than any other game in the history of like my career as a gamer.
Yeah, and
that's
you're right. It gets pretty rare nowadays to deal with it. I mean, yeah, I met Savannah in Titanfall 2, and it was through the team chat because we were in the same network, and we just got into a couple games. And she's cool and she's fun. She got married last weekend, I think, or the weekend before, as well. But we don't get that as much. You don't end up meeting as many cool people because nowadays you're like, you know what? I don't feel like hearing people screaming out, whatever racist, sexist, or just homophobic, whatever. Like, you don't feel like hearing it. And in my case, when I'm streaming, I don't need to get banned because somebody else came out and said something. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
so
totally, man.
I go into a party chat almost all the time.
Yeah, when I'm playing Halo 5, I usually, every once in a while, I'll hear people be like, hey, I got a mic, and and they sound kind of cool. I'm like, I'll throw on my headset and be like, hey, what's up? And then, sometimes you get a couple good games. Be like, hey, want to party up a little? And that's great. I mean, it rarely happen, and I appreciate when that happens. It used to happen
much more. It used
happen
to
a lot more. Like, every game session. But now, usually, if I hear somebody like saying something stupid, I mute the whole team or mute the whole everybody. Like,
and that's what I mean. Like, I just go into a party chat by myself, and then boom, I don't have to worry about it. And then and I make my parties now friends only.
You know what? You know what's funny to listen to though? I'm gonna go back to Grand Theft Auto 5. Listen to people. I don't know what it is about that game exclusively. Listen to people talk shit on each other in that game is hilarious. It's just fun because normally you have some like, balls hasn't dropped kid yet squeaking out some dumb bullshit like he's badass, and he's anonymous. He's in his room and he's being a troll.
It reminds me. You remember that time? I think it was in Destiny. That one little kid was saying stuff. I fucked your mom or something like that. And I'm like, I'm gonna come to your house and I'm gonna fucking wash your mouth out with soap, and then I'm gonna bang your mom if she's hot.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was always kind of funny to mix it up sometimes when you're in with a group of friends and everybody starts talking shit and saying ridiculous stuff. Of course, it's fun. The smack talk has always been kind of a fun component. It's just when people take it too far, start saying some hateful stuff. But Grand Theft Auto 5 still's got some hilarious shit going on in there. I do listen to that. That's kind of fun. Sometimes I'll jump in and if some people are kind of playing, like I've just like other games, GTA 5 also you can find some cool people. But I do admit there's a lot of things about gaming that the camaraderie has come out of it, and I think because as gaming seems to have grown, it's reached a broader audience now, and especially with publishers making it more about money and the sort of the quality of the games aren't so much about building communities anymore. It's just about building like clientele, so a game like Halo 2 will probably never exist today. And I'm even speaking for like Halo 6, and I still love the Halo franchise. I buy them day one every time, love them. Halo 5 is great, but those communities are gone away now because the developers that were making these games made these games with love, and now they're just making these games with deadlines and crunch times, and that shows. So,
and that's again, going back to our very last topic that was on with the Respawn thing. They took a while between Titanfall 1 and 2, and I think it made the game better for it. And I don't want to see Titanfall become, a year franchise. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I'm just chatting. Yeah, it's just kind of in the chat. I'm just Brian and I are kind of talking, and yeah, I'm 42, and I don't really want to necessarily. I don't even. That's what I'm saying. Like now, I even say like the racist stuff. I just don't even want to hear it. When I was in my late 20s playing Halo 2, I had a certain tolerance for it, or maybe I just wasn't as affected by it.
Right, and in some cases it would seem funny, at least to us, to like when we heard certain things, you'd be like, yeah, okay, that's kind of funny. You might chuckle, but now we're at a point where, like Brian said, like you just don't feel like dealing with 10-year-olds.
Yeah, because now you're really thinking, what kind of asshole would say that to a bunch of strangers? When I was young, it didn't matter as much, but now I'm older, and heaven forbid, I might even be a little wiser, and I think like
bite your fucking tongue.
Yeah, I don't want to encourage some asshole who thinks saying a bunch of racist crap to strangers is comedy. Fuck off. You're an asshole. And you don't deserve to have anyone laugh at your stupid shit. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
It gets like that, and you know, when I'm streaming, like I was streaming Fortnite the other day, and somebody invited me to a party to play, and then I heard their voice, and I'm like, look, I don't want to play with 12-year-olds. I really don't. I'm really past that point.
I think I told this story in a previous episode, but I'm going to tell it again. So fuck off. When Destiny 2 introduced the I can't remember the name of it. Oh, you know. Anyway, so you can go as a solo and team up and do the hardcore raids, the hard strikes.
Right.
And I was like, cool. And I wanted to do it because I just wanted to get, because you do the hard strike and then of course you get a glowing engram, and I wanted that.
Right.
And so it was cool. So 2 people teamed up, and you know, and I had my headset on because they kind of say, be cool, man. Like, be ready to communicate with your team because these are harder. And immediately it was like, I think there were 10 or 12, and you know, I was like, all right, well, you know, maybe they're good. Like, you know, just because he's young doesn't mean he sucks at the game. And I went through, and they weren't awful, but he started telling, like, you know, racist jokes and stuff that, like, jokes I'm pretty sure I remember hearing when I was a kid, like just dumb shit. So I was like, and then inevitably they dropped out. You get penalized if you drop out of a sponsored game or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I remember.
But I was just like, we were already like a half hour into it, and like we only had like 10 more minutes to go, and they just dropped out. I'm like, oh man. Oh, so now if I hear a squeaky little voice, I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. And I know it's like, well, that's ageist or whatever. Shut your SJW mouth up. But it really gets down to the point where, look, we are that much older than these people. We have nothing in common with them. And I just don't feel like dealing with them. You know, it's a little different. If I go over Joe's house and I'm going to play, I'm going to take my Switch and play Mario Kart with his wife's 6-year-old daughter, that's a different story entirely. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, she's not going to be talking all kinds of shit and
right. And but what I'm saying is,
like,
like,
cat in the asshole or anything.
Right. And I don't mind playing that sort of stuff with her. That's fine. That's great. But online, I don't want to deal with 10 and 12 and 13 and 14-year-old kids, even 15 and 16-year-old kids. I don't want to deal with. You know.
To be fair, I'll just put this out there, and then we should wrap it up. I'll play with anybody if they're cool. Yeah, I don't care how old they are. Honestly, I don't care. I mean, the voice, the little squeaky voices do kind of grate on my earlobes a bit, but whatever. You know, if they're cool, they're cool, and that's fine. I guess my main concern is I just don't like even playing games for me now. You know, games hanging out with people in a virtual space to me is legit hanging. You know, and I wouldn't hang out with a 12-year-old kid anywhere unless he's like a relative or
right.
You know.
And that's exactly the same thing I was saying. Like, if I'm with Giselle, it's, you know, she's gonna be my niece in a month, so whatever, you know.
Yep. Yeah, so that's sort of my main trepidation, but I don't hold it against them that they're young. It's just, you know, you shouldn't be hanging out with old dudes anyway.
Yeah. Very true. Well, I'm actually really happy we got some chat in here getting involved too.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing was I was listening to a podcast, Leo Laporte. I think a lot of people know who he is.
Twit.
Twit. I was actually listening to This Week in Windows. I don't listen to Twit. Okay. I used to listen. It's the only Laporte show I listen to, and they were talking about how people wanted, because I have another podcast which is Tech and Cyberpunk. And we usually try to keep it at about 30 minutes. You know, pushing it will be 40 minutes or 45 minutes.
Yeah, we've been going an hour and a half on this one.
Well, and so anyway, but Leah was saying, like, the people, and of course this has got a lot more to do with the cult of personality. People know who he is, and people want to hear him talk for as long as possible. But he was saying, like, they wanted to try and get the show shorter, and they have listeners. A majority of listeners said they wanted the shows to be longer. If I got something to say, I'll say it for a while. If the conversation's good, you can keep it rolling. I still I tend basing it just on my own preference, right? Like, I like shows that are about a half an hour because, you know,
good commute time, stuff like that. Like, if people want to listen to it in the car or whatever, half hour is probably a good time.
Yeah, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I just sort of feel like I sort of drop out unless I really dig what they're talking about. I don't know. So it's tough. So ultimately, my understanding is that there's a consensus, and people kind of like shows that are a little longer, they're a little shorter. I still prefer shorter. I still aim for shorter, but
I think it really depends. Like in this case, we're getting the chat interaction, that sort of stuff. You can go longer, and you feel all right with it. When it's just the two of us talking, we know that we're going to ramble, and then we're going to be like, look, we got to cut this, or we're just going to go on for 20 hours, and nobody's going to listen to it.
Right, and that's Matt. Hey, Matt, what's up, man? Matt was just pointing that out. And that's the thing, too. I think when you feel less constricted with time, you do ramble. I can ramble. I'm a rambling motherfucker.
If you guys ever have seen Bill and I in person, we will have a 22-hour conversation that gets on about 77 different topics before getting back to the original topic that we started on 22 hours beforehand. And we can ramble. And that's not even drunk. That is. I
was just going to say, don't even get us drinking. Then it's worse. So, I think that the time limits do force you to think about what you're saying. I don't like people who ramble because I don't like when I ramble. So, anyway.
But thank you guys for joining in on the chat. It means a lot to us that you actually got involved, too, because it shows that people are watching and they care about, what we're talking about, and they have questions that maybe they want to see how we feel about. That's awesome. That's what streaming's all about, really. It's one of the reasons I get so annoyed with some of my streams is just nobody interacts.
Streaming, and I was reluctant to do streaming for a long time, and this is the first time I've done any kind of streaming. I was reluctant to do it because I just thought, hey, who really wants to see my stupid face? And how does it, I felt like streaming was different than podcasting, and it is. And I think with streaming, there's a lot more forgiveness with being kind of rambly because people do reaction videos, they do gameplay stuff, let's play, and all the different gaming stuff. So there's a lot of rambling because there's other content that's kind of happening. Right. We don't have anything. We're not doing any we don't have additional content like a reaction video or anything.
Yeah.
But so there's nothing else. But it just seems to me that streaming lends itself as a platform to a little bit more kind of rambling engagement. Like when you're hanging out and talking, you can ramble, and it seems to me streaming is more like a live conversation than a podcast where you just want to get some information.
It definitely is. Definitely is. So it's good to see some old friends in here. Matt, Brian,
Matt,
Bill,
you're so sexy.
Luke, think about it. What you said earlier about the Halo 2 thing. Matt, you met through Halo 2. Luke, we met through Halo 2. Bill Smith and I went to high school. Brian and I used to work together, Yep. And we still talk. We still go. But no, I do think you're right. I think we should end it. We're going on an hour and a half. I want to...
Now we're not saying shit.
Yeah.
Now we're just saying stupid shit.
Yeah, now we're just being... But I say I might want to make a quick sandwich because I'm a little bit hungry again. And then maybe jump into some Fortnite? Or is it getting too late for you?
Not too late for me. My wife's been super into The Sims, so
she might be on that.
She might be playing Sims for a while. I'm not really sure. She's been doing marathon Sim sessions. So
okay.
But if not, I download Fortnite.
Released?
What's that?
Was it Sims 4 just got released on consoles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She was playing the beta. So she loves The Sims. Turns out she loves it. It's one of her favorite games of all time.
Awesome.
Yep. All right, everybody. That's a wrap.
Yep. I'm Sam.
And I'm not Sam.
Yes, the S and not S podcast. And we will catch you guys next week, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, we'll try. Work on our schedule.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not. And we'll catch you next time.
Later.